At the other end, it is the lovely Miss Liz Anderson. Liz is with Firehouse Subs, and she'll talk a little bit more about Firehouse and how you get a job like that. I think I applied for one way long time ago. She didn't bring any free subs today, so don't ask. Okay. So she's going to chat a little more. She's, of course, in the corporate environment. So if you're interested in going into the corporate environment, she can talk to that as well. And then to her next, we have Danya Crime, who is at Burdett Ketchum. And I did some freelance work for Burdett a long time ago. And anyway, that's agency environment, which is probably my first love now. So if you're interested in the agency environment, she certainly can respond to your questions concerning that. Next to her is Lynette Hart. Lynette has a background in corporate PR, now has her own agency. And Lynette is also the past local and statewide president, right, of the Florida Public Relations Association, so she can probably answer some questions about that as well. Next to her is David Clark, and you all may recognize David. He actually is an adjunct here and has taught for us. And David does some work with Children's Home Society, right? And are you doing that through your own agency?
No,
right?
that's my full-time job.
That's your full-time job now, okay. And so, but you have had your own agency, and so he's nonprofit and has had his own agency as well, so he can answer a lot of questions. Next to him is Maria Coppola. Many of you may have seen Maria. She is an adjunct here now as well because I drug her over here and said you have to teach for us. She's a wonderful person, and she has her own agency now, but she's also was a broadcaster for 10 years. Yes.
About that on
yes,
tape.
Broadcaster for 10 years. She looks way too young, but she was broadcaster for 10 years, and but now has been in the agency environment and now has her own PR agency, so she can speak from several different areas. Next to her is Kevin Punske. Kevin is also an old friend of mine, and Kevin is now with Mayo and does work with. Tell me your exact title. International.
Well, right. Mostly external communications, but there's also new responsibilities with international.
International responsibilities. So he's actually going to be speaking to our diversity panel tomorrow too. So, and speaking of the diversity panel, we're not just talking about like race relations in the United States, but diversity in the sense that we are now a global community, and when you walk out of here, you have to learn how to communicate and how to transfer our American culture to other cultures in a way that doesn't embarrass or create issues for you or your organization. So Kevin can probably talk a little bit about that too. So with no further ado, Kevin, if it's okay, I'll start with you and just each one of you explain a little bit more about what it is that you do and the strengths that you bring, and then we'll open it up to questions from the floor.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here. Like Stephanie said, I've been with Mayo Clinic for almost 8 years now. I've been in public relations, communications, journalism for about 26 years. Started out as a reporter and then branched out to public relations. And I really enjoy PR, and I really enjoy every aspect of it. My experience has been working for statewide agencies, for state government, and agencies here in Jacksonville and in New York City. And then working for Mayo Clinic, and in my current responsibilities are managing external communications. And as Stephanie mentioned, one of my new responsibilities, since we had an employee who had been with Mayo for 35 years, including in Rochester and here in Jacksonville, had retired. So I got her responsibilities because they weren't going to hire a new position. So I'm working with 7 Latin American countries doing PR, promoting Mayo Clinic to those countries. We do have a PR contact on the ground, and so it's a very exciting opportunity for me to branch out beyond my current role. In addition to that, I manage crisis communications for Mayo Clinic and do some leadership communications internal. We have a very small staff of about 10 people, so we overlap in a lot of our responsibilities. So looking forward to the discussion today.
It's hard to follow you. I'm Maria Coppola, and I have a little company called Coppola Public Relations. For the last 2.5 years, I've been a sole practitioner. Sometimes I have people work for me on projects, but it's very rare. So I'm doing a PR consulting effort most days. About 80% of my practice is media relations focused on some level. My clients have a reason to be in the media on some level for some reason that fits their strategy. And I work a lot for marketing directors and marketing managers and CEOs and COOs who don't have an internal PR person, and I'm acting as their PR department for lack of having one in-house. I do mostly business work. I don't do nonprofit. I mostly do business and community initiatives that relate to some kind of business effort. I don't do fundraising, and I don't do charity, and I don't do fundraising events, and I don't do a lot of that kitty cats and rainbows and Humane Society and Save the Children. I do a lot of very strategic business work, writing people's. I do that very traditional PR, writing key messages, writing frequently asked questions, writing fact sheets, developing press materials, developing news releases, having strategies for those things, writing web content, writing newsroom content for people's websites, helping CEOs present, whether it's at a press conference or at a conference, a private conference that media wouldn't come to. Do a lot of coaching and training on messaging and interviewing and how to communicate. So I've been in media for 22 years. Started out as a broadcaster here in Jacksonville and in Gainesville, went to the University of Florida, and worked, go Gators, and I worked as a TV, I was an assignment manager, I was a weekend editor, I was a weekend reporter, I took out the trash, whatever it took to work my way through TV and radio. I worked for WOKV here in Jacksonville, I worked for Channel 12 here in Jacksonville, I worked for Action News before it was called Action News, and then I found my true calling as a PR person in 2000. So I've been a PR consultant, only agency. I've never worked in an in-house environment for the last almost 15 years. So that's me. And I teach PR writing on Fridays here. Just this semester is my first one, so I'm terrible, but I'm trying.
Well, I bet she's teaching quite a lot of good skills too, so thank you for helping with that. So, and if you're ready to help children, I've got an agency.
Loves the children. Loves the children.
Clear.
And the puppies.
But we're focusing on children. But anyway, so I work at Children's Home Society of Florida, and I'm a regional director of philanthropy. And what that means is that I am the person that works with a group of about 10 fundraisers in the north part of the state. And so the employees that I have are all out there raising money through events, through appeals, which are the direct mail letters, all kinds of fundraising activities, and working with volunteers and donors. So that's where I spend my time now, and it's certainly a function of communications. But I started my career actually at United Way after I went to graduate school. And my thought was that I would be in the nonprofit world for about 2 years, and I would go to the for-profit world and make lots and lots of money. And it pulled me in such a way that I couldn't get out. And so finally took a break after 8 years with United Way and had my own PR firm for a few years. And while I enjoyed lots of things with that, I told you I enjoyed some of it. There were other parts of it that I really missed, and the biggest piece for me was really mission work. And working in nonprofits, you really do get to focus on helping. For me, it's helping children. That really is where my heart and my passion lies. And so I came back to work in the nonprofit world, and because I had worked at United Way, I had some fundraising experience, and that was the job that I could get. And so I took a fundraising job and have turned it into a career now, and love knowing that at the end of the day, my work is about improving lives of children and families, and so that to me is very rewarding. As far as the money goes, because I'm sure that's one of your concerns when it comes to getting out of here, the money can come with it. The longer you're in the profession and the more successful you are, the better you get paid. And so I am not bitter or angry about my pay. My pay is fine. and it supports our family just fine. And at the same time, we get to all participate in it because when you work in a nonprofit, your significant other, your spouses, and your children typically are involved. My children have been models for the photo shoots many times. They happen to be gorgeous
cute.
children anyway, but it wouldn't have mattered. They were still going to be in.
Tomorrow.
We can't use the children, the real children, so we've got to use staff children. And then, but they've stuffed envelopes with us, and my wife comes to events, and we all do the work together because it's when one person works in a nonprofit, the whole family does. But it's a great way to build on your education. We use definitely communication skills all the time. We have a communications team. Our communications team is based at our headquarters office, our home office, which is in Orlando. So we do interface with them. Because I have been a professor for a long time too, I tend to think I still know how to do that. And so I often object to some things that are suggested by that office and change them. So I get to still at least put my stamp on the public relations aspects of what we do too.
Okay. This is my buddy. I'm so excited. I think I know almost everyone here, and we'll get to know more. The others. So hi, everyone. I'm Lynette Hart, APR, CPRC, and I have to mention that because I'm a big proponent on continuing learning after you guys are done in your college work here. There's also accreditation and certification. And Marie and I will be happy to talk with you guys about that afterwards. So let us know. But a little bit about myself. As your Professor Stephanie mentioned, I have been in a corporate mostly most of my life. I grew up in a corporate setting, and one of the cool things when I was sitting in your seat, there's so much you could do in PR. There's just really the world's your ocean, and you can kind of move around. And so I quickly realized that, and I wanted to see which one would be. I always felt like corporate was what I wanted to do. But I tried agency. I tried working for the state treasurer, insurance commissioner. I loved that. That was during the time of Hurricane Andrew, so that was exciting, tragic but exciting time. I got to learn quite a bit. He decided to run for governor, didn't make it. We all got pushed out, so I knew government wasn't quite for me. But I still pursued corporate, and it landed me a job with Bank of America. So in 1994, I started working with Bank of America, and I thought, like David, but opposite. I don't really want to do banking. It's kind of boring. I'll just do that until I can get a better job. And I stayed with the bank for almost 20 years. And so I am a retiree of the bank. I feel like I'm a little too young to.
You are.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. But because I had been with the bank so long, I had vested into the company. So I had consulted on the side off and on. And I after the financial crisis, it really got intense. And, with all of the mergers, it continues to get intense. You have some really intense times and you think, okay, we'll get past it. But it stayed intense for too long. And I thought, if I'm going to work this hard, I might as well do it for myself. So I did. So last year, I decided to go into business on my own, and it's been great. And some days I think, why haven't I done this sooner? And then some days I think, what were you doing? You had a good job. You didn't have to. But for me, and I think we understand that the new generation, you really want that flexibility. And for me, I am not the traditional story. I had a corporate job. I had worked my way up to certain levels of responsibility, but I also had 4 kids. So I knew that doing it traditionally was not going to work for me anymore. And the flexibility was way more worth the risk of doing it on my own than to have that stability of having a corporate job. So it's been really great. So what did I do at the bank, and what am I doing now? So for the bank, I'm similar to what Kevin did. I manage our global benefits. So we did work with a lot of partners outside of the country, Spain and in Hong Kong, all over the world. And it was really great because I now have colleagues that I would have never met had I not worked for the bank, and I love to this day. So I'm still friends with them. We still talk, get up early, and have good conversations, and it's really cool. And so I will be joining you guys tomorrow as well for the diversity panel and talking about communications from a global perspective and how it's different. And how you have to customize but yet keep the messages. So I look forward to meeting some of you guys tomorrow as well and have that conversation. So for me, my biggest thing that I've learned over the years, my expertise has become change communications, which was very critical for the bank because we went through many years of mergers and understanding where we are and where we want to be and how do we get people to change and to either change their behavior or to get on board with the change of direction. So I have taken that expertise with me. And that's the cool thing that I think sometimes we forget that along the way, that the one thing you may change a job or you may even move to a whole other field, but your intellectual property goes with you all. And I've used that expertise as a consultant. So what I do primarily is communication strategy. Most of my client work comes from, I do federal contracting. So my clients right now, I do work, it's really cool, and even though I've been in Jacksonville, I've worked on a national and global level, so I've been able to take that sense of comfort in that working at that level to work for the government. So the Department of Commerce, I've done some work with them. We're wrapping up some work with them now. Also doing some work for just got some work with the Pentagon, so I'm really excited about that. So it's really some cool things that I'm getting to do right here in my home, and I love that how technology now allows, I don't have to hop on the plane and go all the time. I can do work right there in my home, and my little ones come in the room and say, hey, I need some juice, and I'll stop and I'll give them juice and I'll go right back to work. So that's where, to me, the flexibility of taking that on. Just as my colleagues have said, the typical stuff, I write strategies, messaging, writing, program management. I would come in, I would look at what the opportunity is or the problem is for the client, and then I'd go, ask lots of questions, do lots of research, come back with a strategy. This is what my recommendation, my counsel is that you would do to move wherever it is that you are from here to there, and you'll know you're successful by these measurements, and that's the type of work that I do. And then, so I can't do that all on my own. If sometimes folks hire me just to do the strategy, or they may ask me to manage or implement it, and then I would say, here's what, either you can use your staff or I can hire someone in, and that's where my partners and my associates come in from my firm, and that's what I do. So thank you for your time.
That's great.
I'm Danya Crime. I work at Burdett Ketchum, which is an integrated marketing, advertising, and PR firm here in town. As I was coming on campus, I actually realized that I graduated from UNF 20 years ago this year.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and I lived in Osprey Hall the first year it was built for exactly 1 year. Then I got an apartment off campus. There was nothing here then. So I did major in public relations at UNF, and then immediately had to get out of Jacksonville and move to Atlanta. Where I was and had worked for 15 years. So I got my master's degree in Atlanta, and also started mainly because I just needed any job, but I got an agency job at a PR firm, a small firm there in Atlanta. So that's how I started in PR agencies, and I've stayed in agencies the whole time of my career. At the very beginning, it was, Maria and I were talking earlier at the lunch, but it's media relations, building media lists, writing press releases. One of our clients was Chick-fil-A. So we did all their grand openings around the country. We worked on the Atlanta Paralympic Games. Mm-hmm. So a lot of consumer media relations types of things, a lot of food service, because that happened to be my boss's firm. He worked at Coca-Cola forever, so he just had those connections. So worked there. Media relations pretty much was the entire thing, but a lot of writing and pitching media. And then I left that firm and went to Weber Shandwick Worldwide in Atlanta still, which is a global firm. So they are based in New York, but they have offices all over the country and the world. And actually started more in B2B, which is business to business. So I got to learn the fascinating world of packaging and food packaging. I worked on that for 8 or 9 years. But it's kind of, if you're a little bit nerdy, it's really good because you actually get to know all these ins and outs of things that make the world work that you never even knew existed. So, Quickcrete was a client for about 8 years. They make all the cement, and we called it dirt in a bag, but all of the things, that you buy at Home Depot. Like I said, all the food packaging clients. Had a couple of food service, Arby's and Blimpie, that I worked on. Porter Cable, Delta Machinery, but we did the B2B side, so we did all the PR for trying to get in the Home Depot stores, so we didn't really do the consumer-facing, PR for using this drill. But there's a whole fascinating world of B2B and all these companies that make products that you would never even think of. And every single one of them has their own magazine. Like right now I have a client that's dental tools, and there's probably about 30 different dental trade magazines out there. But I enjoyed that. I worked there for a long time and really enjoyed doing those kinds of things, because you could, I don't want to say other things don't make an impact, but you were able to get to know the trade editors. They had a little bit longer lead time. You could do more in-depth stories. So I did still media relations, but also when I went to Weber Shandwick, they were, and they still are, housed with the advertising arm of McCann Erickson. So we actually were able to work on overall marketing for clients. So I would also sit in and learn how the media buyers were buying their media and how would we leverage that for PR. Or some of the advertising, some events and trade shows and those kinds of things. So I got a little bit more exposed, even though I didn't do it day to day, but I got exposed to how PR fits with the overall marketing for a client. Then I came down here. We're actually visiting a friend down here and thought, well, I wonder if Jacksonville even has anything. And I put out a resume, and Burdett Ketchum called me that day, so I had to go buy a suit to do an interview. But and then I actually was like, they wanted me to come back the next day. I was like, I'll be wearing the same suit. So like t-shirt and shorts is what I came down for. But yeah, and what I liked about they're a smaller firm, but that got me back to Jacksonville. We have kids and relatives and free babysitting now. But they also are B2B, so a lot of, Rail America was one of the bigger clients, which owned 40 short line railroads. One thing I did learn at Weber, we started doing crisis communications, learned that even more working for railroads. Half of crisis communications is keeping, or probably more than that, keeping things out of the news, not trying to be transparent and in the news. So I'll tell you, every holiday someone is hit by a train, and we had to do that and get calls for those kinds of things. But other manufacturing clients as well. What I've learned in the last 5 years at Burdett Ketchum, and it was a little bit before you guys all grew up with social media, but in the business world, that stuff wasn't really impactful. The digital team did some websites at Weber. We did our traditional PR and our. But when I came down here for Burdett Ketchum, social media and Facebook pages for companies and all of those things came. So I am a little bit self-taught and also took classes, and best way to do it is actually get on, right? And so I got my Twitter handle and all of that. But that's where now, and PR seemed to be natural, but my job is also to run social media for clients as well. So we managed probably 3 or 4 Facebook pages and Twitter accounts, and how that all works together with my traditional media relations, media training. I do crisis stuff still, but then we're also kind of morphing. My role is, and my team's role is going more into what the content management, so writing blog posts, writing the emails, promoting those things that we're writing, like white papers and case studies via social media. So it's meshing a little bit more versus the traditional call the reporter, try to get the story, even though that's still a huge part. So that's been fun, and learning all of the social media aspects, because every single client comes in, and half of the time we have to tell them why they should not be on it. But everybody, they all want to know, like they're in the corporate world. Should I be on Twitter? Should I be on Instagram? What should I be doing? So that's been fun. Keep it going.
My name is Liz, and I'm actually a PR UNF alum from 2009. I had a pretty clear focus of what I wanted to do in school and out of school. My internship at UNF was with St. John & Partners, the PR agency here in Jacksonville. That helped me get my first job in Los Angeles. I moved there right after college, and I worked in an agency. It was a great experience. It exposed me to a lot of different industries. I worked in healthcare, a lot of finance, consumer technology, sports. From there I moved to Albuquerque. It was a personal move. not necessarily professional. I worked in a public affairs firm, so I got the experience to see more of the lobbying side of things, and those kinds of clients who shouldn't really be in the news. We call them problem children, is what my agency said. But I got experience working with a lot of American Indian tribes. And from there, I was recruited to work in-house for a national nonprofit of American Indian tourism. That was a really cool experience. But my career progression, I definitely knew I wanted to do agency life and then transfer into corporate life. So last year, I was blessed. I got the opportunity to move back home, and I work for Firehouse Subs. I hope you all love Firehouse Subs. I'm the public relations manager, so I report to the vice president of corporate communications. My daily responsibilities, I manage a PR agency, so I'm on the flip side of it now. They're based in Tallahassee. It's a great team of 6 professional PR women, and I work with them on a daily basis on all facets of my brand's PR, anything from storylines to goals to strategic communications. I support the vice president of comm and crisis management, which is something that's really fascinating. Never knew a sub shop could have crisis, but we do. And I love my job. Another part of my job is I work with our foundation, Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation, and I provide PR counseling and support for the foundation.
Okay. My question is for the gentleman from the Mayo Clinic. Hi. How important is it to be bilingual with your with the work that you do with the Latin American countries and all of that? And could you tell me a little more about that, maybe?
Sure. I have very little background in other languages. Spanish, Portuguese are the 2 of the primary languages of the countries that I do public relations in. Now, I think it's probably very important to have that second or third language experience if you want to really get deep into a career in that type of PR field. For example, if you're looking at Miami as a city that you want to do PR in, there's no better place for PR people to be if you can speak multi languages there. It's just, you are so employable to be in a city like that. For my situation, it was different. We are it's a very tough economy, and so there are a lot of companies out there that aren't hiring. And so some companies are cutting back staff, and some are even laying off. We're not laying off at Mayo Clinic. We're doing very strategic hiring. But for me in my situation, I think it was more of looking at what we're doing domestically in terms of media relations. So my piece of the person who retired was strictly just media relations. Other people got other parts of her responsibilities. So for me, it would be a great help if I could speak Spanish more fluently and Portuguese, but I don't. But we do have PR people on the ground and consultants that we've been working with for about 20 years. We also have somebody in Miami who that I work with on a daily basis. And we talk about opportunities, because right now, we're just up to our eyeballs in Ebola right now, in terms of, sorry, not literally, but in terms of PR, communications, and training and education, and preparing, putting plans together, talking points, messages, statements, and things like that. It's sort of taking a big chunk of my time because it's also an issue. It's very time consuming. But to your point, in terms of having another language, it is very important, and I would highly advise people who want to get into doing PR in other countries to learn those languages and be fluent. But for me, I'm learning as much as I can, but we're pitching stories, and we're doing this every day. We're finding a lot of success in doing that, and a lot of it has to do with a lot of the countries that we're doing PR in these 7 countries. We find that a lot of those folks speak English, which is of course helpful to me. So we do have people at Mayo Clinic who do speak other languages, and so I work with those folks. We have people in Rochester who, Rochester, Minnesota, where the Mayo Clinic mothership is, they have responsibility for the Middle East and Canada. The folks in Arizona at the campus there, they may be working with Mexico and some other countries. For us, it's just 7 Latin American countries, because we get a lot of patients coming from those countries to Mayo Clinic. So, so I'm learning. I'm having to do press releases in English and press releases in foreign languages, and trying to make sure I understand, because there's a lot of differences just in Spanish alone in these countries, and so and with other translators, there's differences of opinion in terms of how things are said and certain phrases. So it's very tricky. It's very tough. But as advice to everyone here, you never know what's going to be thrown your way. You never know what opportunity you're going to get. And I know a lot of folks alluded to it here on the panel, is that take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. Don't just think about your career in terms of being media relations, or I'm just going to do sports marketing, or I'm just going to do healthcare or retail. Learn as much as you can. Learn about developing leadership communications. Learn about picking up the phone and how to pitch a reporter. Learn about issues management and putting together a special event, because you're so much more valuable to your employer to find yourself in another job in another city and making a lot more money, like we talked about. You're that much more valuable to your employer. So I'm going to learn as much as I can. I had this opportunity just land on my lap, and so I've been entrusted with it. So I'm going to make the most of it. And it's a struggle, it's a challenge, but it's something that I'm really grateful for. So I will learn more.
Next year he'll answer in Spanish.
Can I add to that a little bit too? One thing that I would just also mention is just to kind of underscore what Kevin said. We learned that most people, we always thought, oh, we had to translate. They expected in English, they wanted in English, and I found only in Spain where there's some laws where you had to have it in Spanish if it was something that they had to know. Kind of almost like here, you have to have the poster in the break room saying that you can call workers' comp. Those types of things have to be in Spanish. Other than that, it's not expected in Spanish, especially in Asia and all the other countries. But another thing to remember, that in England, they do get offended if you are using American English and not European English. So
Yeah. And Kevin alluded to that too. If you're speaking, if you're sending something out in Spanish in Colombia, it might be different than sending something in Spanish to Mexico.
Exactly. So I would say I wouldn't. Right. I'm sorry, Sarah. I was going to say I wouldn't. It's good to know it, but I wouldn't depend on yourself. You need to kind of take a higher level and look at everything, and then that's when you have to have the vendor who knows exactly. It's a little bit too sensitive to kind of just manage it on your own. That's when you need an expert to help with that.
This is just a general question for all of the ones that are accredited in the field. How important is that to you guys to have accreditation in public relations?
You want to go for it?
Well, who is accredited? Just you two, you three? Okay.
Oh, okay.
You're not? Okay. So the three middle.
I don't want this to offend the people that aren't
That's all right,
accredited.
we will not.
But here's
you're
why
too young
I
to
got
get accredited.
accredited. I got accredited because I didn't go to PR school like you guys. I went to journalism college at the University of Florida. It is different. I got a broadcast television degree. I did not have a pedigree like you do in having a degree in public relations. Really, 25, 30 years ago, public relations degrees weren't even really that much of a thing. And so I felt like being accredited was my responsibility as a PR person, but a responsibility to myself and my clients to formalize my knowledge and my processes in a very traditional way, because APR, I'm an APR CPRC. I just got my CPRC
Stands for.
Certified Public Relations Counselor, and I just got that in April. That's a statewide designation. You have to have 10 years of senior consulting experience to qualify to take that program. And about 90 professionals in the state have that designation. It doesn't much mean anything to clients or your potential employers, but it means a lot to recruiters in the PR field. A lot. Recruiters say all the time that they value APR equally or better than master's degrees in PR. So it can set you apart, but I did it because I felt like I needed that formalized training, because I was a self-taught PR person. I went from TV and radio to an agency that was like, here's your clients, have fun. And there was no training program, there was nothing. It was sink or swim, become a PR person or don't, whatever that is, whatever your perception of a PR person is, you become that. And that's how I came to be a PR person. So CPRC was a little different. CPRC I wanted to do because I felt a big responsibility to my state association, Florida Public Relations Association, and to be a leader among your peers in the PR profession in the state of Florida. CPRC is very important. So I did CPRC kind of for a different reason. But I think accreditation is really important. Do you have to have it to be a PR person? Absolutely not. Can you be a good PR person without it? Absolutely. Absolutely. You're probably better PR people than I am. But I do think it's important.
I agree.
And one day we're going to get these
Yeah,
things.
we're gonna pull them in.
Right?
Well, and I have to say, I did it, and I have the degree in PR, even though my degree, I was sharing with the lovely ladies at the table, my degree is in journalism, my major was PR. But I always knew that I wanted to do it when I was in school. At the time, you had to wait 5 years. So I think it took me a little longer than 5 years. It was almost 10 years, and I said, oh, you know what, I really need to get my accreditation. And I went ahead and I did it. For that reason, I started to go into my master's, but right after I graduated, some of you can probably relate, I was like, I don't want to sit in anybody's class, not one more class, not one more class, I just need a break. And so I intended to go back and get my master's, and it's never a good idea to take a break, because once you start working and the money's good, and then you never kind of go back, but I went ahead and I was going to get my master's at USF, and then I got engaged to this cute guy, and it just never happened. So for me, right, there's 4 children. So for me, I wanted to do it very similar for Maria's. I wanted that designation, and I was so glad I did, because after about 10 years of working, you're doing it. I've always loved PR, but when I started studying for the accreditation, I realized, well, I got into PR, and I fell in love with PR again. It was wonderful. And just remembering and refreshing and relearning, you just have that sense of confidence. You know, hey, I do know what I'm doing. I'm glad that I chose this field. This field does a lot for me, and I know I can do. I can provide great service to my clients. So for me, definitely would agree to that. And this year I'm sitting. Why I made that kind of joke, but Maria's probably the only one that got it. We both are sitting on the executive committee for the Florida Public Relations Association this year, and that is the position. I'm sitting for accreditation certification, so I'm always looking for great candidates, and so I'm gonna not lie, I'm biased. So anyone wants to talk about APR afterwards, feel free to talk to me.
She was talking to you guys.
I know. And CPR.
Yeah, I was ready to go.
But you're
I'm not
APR,
I'm APR, I'm not CPRC.
but you want to be CFRE, right? Don't you one day maybe?
No, I'm good.
We'll have coffee.
Well, and there's a student.
And I have a master's already, so you know.
Right.
So.
Well, and there's a student accreditation now. Not
Yeah.
They don't call it accredited. What do they call it?
It's a certificate.
Certificate.
Yeah.
You guys know, have you heard about it from PRSSA here on campus?
We'll come
It
back.
just got launched last year.
Mhm.
This year, last year.
Fred will be working on that.
Gotta be working on it.
He'll be working on that.
Certificates.
Certificate.
Student certificates.
I've been giving out student certificates.
The national certificate.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I think as a consult, I think it's really important as a consultant, Kevin does not have to prove that he's really smart. He works at Mayo Clinic. Okay? Only the best PR people in the whole wide world work at Mayo Clinic, period. Yes. Oh. Same with Danya. She's working in one of the top agencies in Jacksonville. She doesn't have to, I don't think she has a real hard time convincing clients she's an expert at what she does. She works at a top agency. I'm out there as a sole practitioner. There are a ton of people working as sole practitioners who say they're PR people, and they are not PR people. They are advertising or marketing or events or hype or sales and marketing people in disguise. And they say they do PR, but they don't do what we do. They don't have a dedication to the ethics code that we do. They're not writers in the way that we all think that, that we work on every day. So I have found it incredibly valuable as I go and talk to clients, especially prospective clients, as I'm in charge of sales at my company. When I talk to clients, they instantly are able to discern the difference once I tell them the difference between a PR person who says they're a PR person who does marketing, websites, events, fundraising, I don't know, everything, and an accredited, certified PR person. They are different. So I found that to be an incredibly valuable piece of information to have in my sales pitch. I don't sell anything. It's not like I'm out selling cars, but I want, if I have a client that I love, that I really want to work with, that I think is a great fit for my company, I want to win that client. And so I'm going to do everything that I can to win that client and to have that work under Cupola PR, under the Cupola PR umbrella. And so it sets me apart from those people. We call them hacks, but you can call them whatever you want. But those people in the market who say they do PR when really they are not PR people. And it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy.
You're fine.
So go. Sorry, that's a long answer. I don't know. You asked that question. My students. I have three of you guys are in here.
This is kind of a
Steve.
double-ended, broad question for all of you. So we're most of us graduating, want to get jobs, ideally. What is one thing you do or do not do on a resume or interview, or that you look for in an interview or resume? Something good, something bad.
Want to go down the line?
I'll say just because we just hired a writer-editor. I work in the Department of Comm, so we have an internal comm team, and he just hired his writer-editor. She's fresh out of school, and he went through a whole stack of people. And the biggest thing we found is AP style is so important. Spelling, knowing how to use grammar, honestly. And a big thing, we talked about this yesterday, whoever was here, but your social handles, your social media, make sure that it's in check. Get a professional email address. Don't do dancer girl at whatever. Something professional. The details are really important. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. At Hotmail, dancer girl at Hotmail.com. Good Lord, get your name at Gmail.
I guess it's the same thing. With the resumes come across, if there's a misspelling, I don't even read anymore. It goes right into the trash. We do, we're trained to look into things. So the first thing I do is I'll look at your Twitter handle. I'll see if I can see your Facebook page. If you have it public, I have no idea why. I'm like, why? Oh my gosh, they need to learn the privacy settings. I'll check out LinkedIn. But these are just basic things, right? Mine's private. You can see my name, but you're not going to see pictures of my children. But just those kinds of things. And then I guess some of the successes. So a lot of you will have classes where you'll have campaigns. So talk about that, or even if it's your side work and your jobs that you're doing, highlight those kinds of things, because we also want to know that you have a business sense, or that you're going to come to work and you're going to work hard, and you also are curious about things. So extra classes or workshops you've done, those will get you in the door. And then for an interview, and everybody's nervous, we get all of that, but I think what will turn me off is if there's somebody that they're actually not listening to the question I'm asking. They're ready to tell me, and they have it planned, and so then I'll have to ask the same question 2 or 3 times just to get them, because they're not really listening, and that's going to tip me off that might be how you are every day. and my daily life is too busy to, I'm happy to explain it to you and all of that, and we're going to mentor you, but repeating over and over is not what I want. So those are going to be tip-offs. So I know it's hard to say, just, kind of relax, be confident in what you have and what you've done, and, just have a conversation. So we're no different than, everybody else that as well. So.
My biggest thing for me, I always advise young folks, is to network. And I know that sounds cliche, but when I say network, I mean come to FPRA. If not FPRA, come to PRSA, IBC, and actually meet people. I know it may be a little weird or feel strange if you're not. You can be in PR and not outgoing. There's lots of people in PR that's not outgoing. And the reason why I find that most important, let's say you join an organization, you join a committee, people get to work with you, they get to see your work ethic, they get to know you. And then when there's opportunities, hey, I know a young lady, Kat, that I've sat on a committee with her and she's awesome. I'm going to see, you know what I'm saying? It's happened time and time and time again. And I've had colleagues that have called me and said, hey, I know this great young lady that's volunteering, or young man, would you like to, if you know of anything? So I'll say, just earlier this year, I was here at the job fair, and I'm chatty. I drive my people crazy. I drive my friends and family crazy. So I walked into the break room, and it's we were there. Stephanie invited me. This young man sitting there, he's eating his chicken wings, trying to just get a little food before his class. And I sat down next to him. We started chatting, and he was helpful to me on something that I was doing for a presentation. And so I remembered him, and we said, oh, let's connect for coffee. And so he had questions, and how do I get? And I said, you need to come to FPRA. You need to come. So I invited him to things, and he came. And this was really great. And so because of that, he had an opportunity to meet other people that I knew. Now, I didn't have a job, but others that he met did. So it was just because he networked with me that day, he ended up having some opportunities. That's why I said it's definitely, and I'll just share this real quickly. My earlier years with the bank, I wanted to get to another level, but the doors were closed, right? So I said, hey, you know what? I'd love to help you with that newsletter. I gave it away for free. I was writing stuff for her for free. It wasn't even part of my job. But later, something that I didn't know, conversations happen when you're not around, and someone said, we need somebody for, hey, I know this young girl, Lynette. She writes for me for free, and I know she's a good writer. Maybe we should call her. And it wouldn't have never happened had I not just done that. So always go out and just meet people and talk to people.
And you're saying NFPR, it's the NFLPR.
FPRA. Florida.
It's faster than that.
Okay.
Easier.
Yeah.
Florida.
Because there's a North
Public
Florida
Relations
one.
Yes.
Association.
So that's
Florida.
different.
Yes,
They're
Florida
two
Public
different.
Relations
Okay.
Association.
There's no North Florida.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's a-
there's a Jacksonville chapter.
Yes. Yeah.
National chapter of FPRA and then North Florida chapter of TRSA.
Right,
Yes, that's right.
right.
And IABC, I'm on the board of IABC.
That's right. That's right. I'm sorry, I didn't
That's
mention
right. You mentioned it earlier.
And then there's AFP too, so you know that.
So many
And
acronyms.
jam up
We got
and
students that need to leave for a
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple more questions.
Yes.
Fred, do you have something? Fred is our current
We
PRSSA
can talk to
president,
him.
by the way. So all of you need to chat with him.
And I have certificates for everyone who's a new member, and I only give them away at events though. So you have to come to the event to get it. And I got everybody.
He's serious about certificates.
He's serious.
But my question is, now in 2014, what importance do you put on, if any at this point, with e-portfolios and LinkedIn? You go on people's e-portfolio sites and check out their work samples and things like that.
I'll say for myself, 2 jobs ago, I got my job through LinkedIn. It's a good place for people, like on a quick reference, like I have it at the top of my resume. They could just go and quickly browse your recommendations and things like that. So I really value LinkedIn.
I think LinkedIn's important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's
important for all of us.
I think it's one of the first places that all employers, PR or otherwise, look to see. I mean, they're not just looking for your experience. They know they know you just graduated college, and the job they're interviewing is entry level. So they're not looking for 10 years of experience. They know they're not going to get it, but they're looking for the flavor of you and how you write and how you talk about yourself.
And if we
where
have
you've
any
been
connections that overlap,
Yeah.
then I can say, hey Maria, say that you know so and so too. What do you
What's
say?
your, I know we already said professional pictures, but people are looking for, what's your image going to be when you work for their company? And so LinkedIn is a perfect place to find
You
that
know,
out.
I've had national recruiters contact me. I'm sure you guys have too, through LinkedIn. They're looking for people. They're looking, so they go to LinkedIn.
If you do no other
Yep.
social media, do LinkedIn. Not because it's the end all be all, but because of that online resume always there, projecting a professional image for yourselves.
So how important is it to have?
How much what?
How important is it to have your own web page, website? Do you think it's a staple, or is it's something that would benefit you more or less?
I think it's a nice to do more than a have to do.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It's a nice
You can
to
do it on
And-
LinkedIn.
And, if you can separate yourself, stand out, then that's one of the things to stand out.
So this is a question for our agency professionals. I was just kind of curious to hear what some of your biggest struggles were when you finally made that jump into opening your own agency.
That's you guys.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I try not to talk.
All right,
too
I'll
much.
go first.
Okay.
My life is perfect. So.
Yeah. Of course, I left mine. So, I think when you go in to work on your own, one of the first things you have to deal with is a separation from a workforce, and that's a really significant thing. And then we can talk about lots of other things with business development and invoicing and coming up with all those pieces. But learning how to work alone or without more interaction takes some effort. Particularly when you're public relations people, when you're so extroverted, you're clinging. I went to coffee with Lynette when she did this, and I couldn't leave for 2.5 hours, because she was so hungry for attention. I'm kidding. I am playing with it, but that's the point. Is that we do want to be able to have that camaraderie, and you miss that a lot when you go into business for yourself. And so, figuring out how to deal with that and that aspect of it, and learning how to find opportunities to get that connection, to give you that energy you need to your next opportunity to connect with someone, I think is one of the first steps people might not always mention.
I would say for me, the hardest thing for me, all those years at the bank, I kept saying to everybody, oh, it's just the bank, it's just crazy because the bank's so crazy. No, I am a recovering workaholic. So I had to look in the mirror and face that fact. And I'm still struggling with that because, I would agree, and I like retainers because that is, I can plan better that way. Even though it's great to, be per hour, because then I can really, if you have a client that can afford it, then that's great too, because then you can earn as much as you care to do. But for me, I still put in way more hours than I'm billing. So you have to be very careful, and I've learned that, and I've had to. Grow up here. But I've learned I've had to learn how to just toughen up and say that this is what it's going to require, and set that expectation, because what we have learned called scope creep, it just continues to grow and grow, and they want more, which is good because you're doing good work, right? So they're like, give me more, and you have good work and you jump into it. So it's managing that as well, like managing that expectation for me, and then stopping myself, because if I have good work, I'll work through the night. I will do it on a constant basis until my body just says
Until
no.
I fall asleep.
Yes.
And then charge
Yeah.
rush hour fees too. When there's a rush job, it's not normal fees, and you got to learn how to do that. And it took me a while to get to where I was comfortable charging rush fees.
I got no problem.
I do.
So that was one of the things that it was hard for me. Charging the full price was okay, but once it got to the rush, it took me a while. I got used to it. Then I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry. That's going to require a lot more work in a short period of time. It's going to be double the cost.
That's right. And if they expect you, if they know they can call you on Friday, which my clients, they'll come in on Friday and say, oh my God, can you get this done over the weekend? And I'm like, okay, I'll do it, and I'm saying it's me, it's my fault. I'm giving them that liberty to feel that I'm at that beck and call, and it's because I've done that with Bank of America for so many years, because I was salaried, I had people depending on me, and I felt like I had to do it. But you really don't, and you can say no to a client. So learning that is important.
And I've had to deal with the same sort of thing.
Roxy's out there waving furiously.
I took a month to finish up the work that instead of putting in a month's notice at the agency where I was, I took a month and finished the client work that I had been paid for. A lot of the work that we had was prepaid or on retainer. And I took a month, seriously, like a solid 4 weeks. I had never taken so much time to think about what I wanted to be when I grew up, ever, because I started in TV when I was 19 years old and never stopped. Never took more than a week off at a time, never stopped. So I didn't do it perfectly, even taking 4 weeks to figure out what could pull a public relationship be. But I left the agency that I was at, not because it wasn't an awesome agency, because it was. The people were great, they do amazing work, but I had decided that I wanted to do it my way, that I wanted to spend as much time as I wanted to on the client without feeling guilty that I went to a 3-hour meeting instead of 1-hour meeting. I wanted to work for only the clients that I absolutely love, that I have to like them. And I always tell my clients that they need to meet me before I give them a proposal, because we gotta like each other. Because this is a partnership. This is not an easy job. This is a thing that you're gonna touch. Liz is working on it every day. I'm working with my clients every day, every week. So I took some time to really think about who I wanted to work for. That is the hardest thing as a PR person, because every company needs this service. Every discipline, every person, everybody running for office, everyone. And I can't work for everybody. And so I've decided I'm going to be really focused on what I work for, who I work for, and how I work for them. And that's really hard, because I just want to work for everybody. I want to do everything. And knowing what kind of PR that you want to do, what you want to be. Do you want to be a business PR person? Do you want to be a strategic planner? Do you want to work on your own? Do you want to work in a team? Do you want to do events? Do you want to do fundraising? If you know the kind of PR person that you want to be, the thing that you like, you can work towards that in your career as you get older. Because I just decided that I was sick of doing other stuff people told me to do. I know that sounds crazy, but I just want to do what I wanted to do with the clients that I like to work with. And I think that is just so difficult, because somebody's saying, oh, I have a $5,000 project right here. That really isn't what I do, but I can do it. And I think that's what agencies do. And it's difficult because, agencies sell business. That's what they do. So you're going to work for a bunch of people that maybe you don't like, maybe you don't want to work for, but somebody else owns the agency, and that's what you're going to have to do. So I just, that was the hardest lesson, even as a person with 12 years experience. Hardest lesson is to work on the things that you like at that level, like that. And yes, you're going to work 12 hours a day. I still do it. You still do it. But that's really hard. And I had to decompress for 4 hours.
12.
I work. My clients can reach me. My clients can reach me at 7 a.m.
Absolutely.
And my clients can reach me until 7 or 8 at night. And it's typical for them to call me if there's a crisis. If there's a crisis, it's not unheard of to hear from them at 9 o'clock at night or Saturday morning. It is what it is. It's the world that we live in. It's 2014. It's never
relationships.
Stopped.
Yeah. It's a relationship, and that's what public relations is about, relationships. And so you're forming that relationship with that client, and it needs to be a genuine one. And you have to put boundaries there. But you'd want them to have access to you over the weekend. They have this major issue going on that you can talk them through, and then hopefully delay the work until Monday. But it's relationships. You do it to make it good for everyone, win-win.
Well, with that, we need to let Bobby come in. So let's give our viewers.